When I was in high school and college, I was rabidly conservative, and I loved debating with my liberal friends. And I remember so often after a long debate that I won, of course, they would always say something like to the effect of, uh, you and I may disagree, but I will forever fight for your right to say it, or I will fight to the death for your right to say it. And I used to think, hmm, I don't know if that's so true. I wonder if they really would fight to the death for my right to disagree with them. And I didn't think that they really would in the end. But the irony of ironies is now I'm finding out, a lot of us former Republicans and conservatives are finding out that no, it's the people on our former side who are the ones who refuse to stand up for other people's rights when those people disagree with them. So it came out of my stream that that censorship and the taking away of free speech has come, which is a little shocking and disappointing to me, very disappointing. I thought we were the side that stood up for free speech, but it's turning out we're not. We're the ones who are clamping down on free speech. I did a video a couple of days ago about ICE agents shooting a pastor in the head with a pepper ball gun. And I thought it was pretty non-controversial. You know, who would agree with that? Who would want something like that to happen? But it turns out a lot of people think it's okay, and they're all MAGA. And a lot of them, now, to be fair, I can't say these people who have commented on my YouTube page are Christians because, on YouTube, there's no way to know unless they say, and they haven't said. But I've seen comments just like this all over social media from other people who do claim to be Christians. So I'm just going to say, let's look at this from a Christian point of view and assume that they are some of these MAGA Christian supporters. But first, let me play you the portion of the video that I'm talking about. This is where a pastor in Chicago, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Chicago, went to an ICE facility with a bunch of other people, and he spoke out. There were ICE agents on the roof of this building, and they started shooting down at the crowd. And this guy, this pastor, was in the crowd and he got hit in the head. And these pepper ball bullets, pack quite a wallop. They are not bullets from a real gun, but they can do a lot of damage nonetheless. And he was, I think, very fortunate that they didn't, accidentally hit him in the eye. And this is the type of thing that could make you go blind, lose your sight in an eye. Anyway, let me show you what I'm talking about, and then I wanted to just look at some of these outrageous comments from MAGA people who totally resemble the comments I've seen from people who claim to be Christians. And I just want to talk about these from a Christian point of view and show why Christians should not be supporting this movement because it has a rot at its heart. It has a rotten heart. Uh, okay, so here's what I said on the other video. Now let's look at the video. Watch this. I want to show this. You got to look at this for a minute. These are the three agents up here on the roof. Okay. So these are protesters down here. This is Pastor Black right here. All right. So just look at these guys on top of this roof. I mean, first of all, they're masked. Second of all, they're too scared to get down here on the ground with the protesters because they don't have any law enforcement training at all. They have no idea how to handle a group of protesters, a group of obviously nonviolent protesters. And it looks like maybe there's, 8 or 10 people there. It's not even a big crowd. So there are three of them, and they get up on the roof where they can just aim down and shoot. Cowards. They're cowards. All these guys are cowards. Big, big cowards. Anyway, let's watch the video. Okay, there he goes. He gets shot in the head. There he goes. All right. So that was the video. I don't know if you could see it that well, but it is on my other video from 2 days ago. The guy got shot in the head, basically, with a pepper ball gun. Let's look at what some of these so-called I'm sure a lot of these people, identify as Christian. So let's look at what some of them said. It's pretty outrageous stuff. This guy just posted 9 minutes ago while I was preparing for this. He says, "I hope they keep." All right. It's a little hard to read some of these because, seriously, their grammar is all over the place. "I hope they keeping an eye for him and nail him a vein and again." Okay. All right. Let me translate. "I hope they keep an eye on him." Okay, well, a better translation. "I hope they keep an eye out for him and nail him again and again." This guy wants them to do it again and again. What kind of conservative attitude is that? The First Amendment of the Constitution, and conservatives were supposed to be the strongest supporters of the Constitution, gives us a right to free speech, and it gives us a right to protest our government. Pastor was doing nothing illegal. He had every right to be there. Look at this guy. He says, "A pastor? What is he doing there?" What? He doesn't think pastors have the right to protest? He wants to silence pastors. I guarantee you there are people who identify as Christian MAGA supporters who agree with these comments. This guy says, "I'm crying crocodile tears for someone dressed like a priest getting shot with a pepper ball while he's joining a violent riot. I saw a rioter dressed as a chicken. Are the ICE agents expected to believe he's a chicken and not a rioter?" Well, I guess the most succinct way to respond to that is just read what I wrote. I said, "If you hate Christians, why are you supporting the group that wants to make Christianity great again? And where the heck do you see any violence at this protest?" You're going to have to show some links to prove that claim. Again, an unproven claim. They just throw anything out that they want. They literally make things up. "Oh, at a violent protest, what's he doing at a violent protest?" I watched longer videos of this protest. Not a bit of violence at all. Oh, but if you're MAGA, if someone holds up a sign that says, "I don't like Trump," or "Stop ICE from doing what they're doing," to them, that's violence. That's violence to them. Here's another one, all caps, emulating their president. "Break the law, you get a pepper ball." Okay. So I went on a little bit of length here. I said, "He didn't break any law. Since it sounds like you might be an illegal alien who just arrived on our shores, let me explain something to you." Okay, I'm being a little cheeky. He obviously doesn't understand the most basic things of American law and constitutional rights or the First Amendment. So he sounds like somebody who may have just arrived, right? I'd like to see him get deported. He will never get deported for not knowing this information, though. "The American Constitution has something called the First Amendment, which not only guarantees the right to free speech, it also guarantees the right to protest our government." Now, I'm sure whatever third world, pothole riddled country you came from didn't have that right, and you don't believe people should be able to protest the government. It probably seems very foreign and radical to you. But in this country, every citizen has that absolute right, meaning it's not a crime. Now, even you, wherever you're from, before arriving here a few months ago, because it's obvious he's only been here a very short time, I'm sure even you would agree that no one should get a pepper ball who is not breaking the law, right? And then I said, "By the way, Trump's making the new citizenship harder. I would heartily recommend to you that you start studying now because I can see you're going to have a lot more, a lot of trouble with it." So good luck to that guy getting citizenship. Uh, Here's another one. "There's a good reason for them to cover their faces. It's called doxing." Okay, now finally a comment that makes sense. Oh, wait. No. Oh, right. I said, "Then why don't all cops wear masks? What is it about these cops that makes them so much more likely to be doxxed than regular cops?" Well, I think we know the answer to that because they're not regular cops and they're not following any of the laws or rules or traditions of our country as far as respecting people's rights. They are arresting people who have committed no crime. They're not stopping to ask questions. They just stop to arrest, yank them out of the car, pull them into their own personal vehicle, and drive them down to to the nearest ICE facility. Well, that's why possibly these so-called cops may be coming under more criticism than regular cops come under because they're not abiding by any of our laws. They're violating people's rights, and we don't like that. People don't like that. Now listen to this person. So funny. Maybe the pastor should stay away from a riot at a federal ICE facility caused by Antifa and other domestic terrorists attacking the federal facility. Seriously? Not a shred of evidence for any of this. There was no violence. There was no violence. I watched the video. I watched a much longer video of this so-called riot. There was no violence. It was people holding signs and protesting what ICE is doing illegally to people who are innocent, and the harsh, horrible ways they're treating these people. All of this violence in these Democrat run cities by the left falls on dementia Joe Biden and his unlawful open border policies that have led to blah, 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 blah. Okay, all this violence falls on Joe Biden, but there's no violence. So why doesn't Joe Biden get the credit for that? Really amazing, right? All by design to destroy this country, as most countries in Europe are now facing. In addition, these attacks by Antifa and other domestic terrorists or on members of ICE are serious federal crimes. Okay, there was no attack. To hold up a protest sign and to shout with your voice, stop doing what you're doing, that's not violent. That's not violence. But since when did facts matter to these people? This is why you can't argue them out of their beliefs by using facts, because they didn't get into these beliefs from facts. Facts didn't get them into these beliefs. Propaganda, stuff they've been told for decades by conservative media like Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and all these guys, Mark Levin, all these people, just day after day, hour after hour, hours, many hours a day, these people would sit around listening to the radio. And I used to do it too. And they were just fed this information all day long. And no facts necessary. You just believed it after a while because you heard it so much from people you thought you could trust. Really amazing. Oh, well, here's one. Here's a very uh, good argument. A lot of these people are would be great debaters because they really have a handle on how to persuade people. This guy says, "With all due respect, sir, you're an idiot." Is he talking to me? I think so. Okay, now here's a good comment from Paula. Also, yes. Oh, wait, she has another one down here. I thought that Trump just made some kind of an executive order about anti-Christian activities and speech. So does this count? Yeah, right. He's making orders that you know kind of outlaw anti-Christian activities. So does this count? They're shooting at a pastor. Listen, I'm telling you, these people who identify as Christians are perfectly willing to have other Christians shot in the head with a gun that could seriously injure them and possibly even do worse. Because those Christians, who they would be more than happy to see forced into silence, don't carry the MAGA line. And if you're not MAGA, to them, you're not even a Christian. Because for them, this is a political religion. This isn't the Christianity of the Bible. It's not the Christian religion at all. It's a political religion, and Christianity is not political at all. What they really worship, I believe, is the state. Of course, they'd be the last to ever admit that because that's what they've always said liberals do, that liberals worship the state. That's what we've always been told. But I'm finding out lately that self-projection is rampant on the Republican side, and this is really a great example of self-projection. They constantly accuse others of doing what they themselves are doing. In fact, if you want to know what they're thinking, just ask them what they think Democrats are thinking. And then everything in their mind, all the little dark secrets will start to come out. But yes, theirs is a political religion. And they literally couldn't care less if Christians who don't agree with them politically are harassed, if their voices are silenced, or even if violence is used to shut them up. They don't care, just shut them up. because I think literally to them, when they see somebody disagree with them, they feel like that's violent. They feel like a violence has been, you know, conducted on their person. But, as long as these other Christians don't support the regime, these people, these MAGA Christians, are more than happy to see them go, as is evidenced by the seriously disturbing comments on my own videos here. Anyway, I think that's the state of our nation right now, that the people, so many people who identify as Christians thought these people were going to come into office and somehow protect Christianity or make it great again, as if any human could do that anyway. Um, what they're going to find out is now they may be on the right side of things, but these people always have a litmus test. They eat their own. One day you're on the right side of the litmus test, and the next day you're on the wrong side. And you never know where you're going to end up, but eventually you can count on this. You're not going to end up on the right side. You may start off on the right side, but somewhere down the road, you're going to find yourself on the wrong side of the litmus test, and they'll be coming after you. That's why we have always worked to protect free speech in this country. And that's why free speech has been such a big part of what's made America great. The ability to disagree and express criticism of our leaders, as 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 rowdy and chaotic as it makes things, has made us the greatest nation on earth. If you count greatness by having the most powerful military ever in the history of the world, or being the wealthiest country in the history of the world, if you count greatness that way, then it's made us great. If you count it in other ways, and I'm starting to count it in other ways more and more, maybe we're not quite so great as we used to be. Maybe Trump is right. I would like the next president, hopefully, who comes from another party, to work to start making America great again after this one is finished with his destructive activities. All right, that's about it, and I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.